Hey there everybody, welcome back to another episode of Diablo 4. I'm Captain Beefy, this is the Game Vault, and I'm going to do a series of videos geared towards the casual Diablo player. There's a lot of guys out there doing videos that are showing you the best place to farm in the end game, the best builds to get your maximum DPS, how to min-max characters, all that fun stuff. And, you know, there's a ton of them out there and they're great. I watch all of them all the time. But one thing I'm seeing is not a lot of people are focusing on the very basics, the nuts and bolts of the game for the casual player. I imagine this game has a huge casual base due to the heavy advertising campaign that Blizzard launched prior to its release. So, if you're that guy, if you're the dad that only has a few hours on the weekend to play when the kids are asleep and the wife's off, you know, shopping with her sister or whatever, I'm your guy. So stick around and let's talk about the very first thing. Alright, so you need to pick a character. You've got 5 character types to choose from right in the beginning, and they each will give you an overview as you look through them. Each one has unique abilities, unique strengths, and unique weaknesses. Starting off with the Barbarian, these are your tanky type characters. Powerful warriors who rely on brute force to subdue their enemies, Barbarians are able to swap between an array of powerful weapons during combat, ensuring that they are prepared for any situation. They got the ability to berserk, channel your inner rage and enter and maintain a berserking state, increasing damage and movement speed. They can cause bleed damage, which if you're a veteran of any video games, you know bleed damage is powerful. Use slashing weapons to cause enemies to bleed, dealing damage to them over time. Walking Arsenal, become a walking arsenal, gaining damage and other bonuses from using various weapons in combat. And Unbridled Rage, the pinnacle of aggression. You have an increased fury cost to use skills. In exchange, your skills are dramatically more powerful. Next up, we've got the Necromancer. And enigmatic necromancers are the custodians of the balance between life and death. They can raise powerful undead armies to fight for them, while also wielding the powerful magics of bone, shadow, and blood. Undead armies summon a host of undead minions to do your bidding, including skeletal warriors, skeletal mages, and the golem. Bone, use the power of bone magic to physically assail enemies. Bone skills often gain increased power when you have large amounts of essence. Darkness, wear down enemies over time. Darkness skills utilize crowd control elements so that enemies are kept at bay while they die a slow, painful death. It's a good one for you sadists out there. And in blood, siphon the life from enemies with blood magic, which has defensive benefits while becoming more powerful as you increase your maximum life. Next up is the Sorcerer. Masters of the elements, sorcerers inflict cold, fire, and lightning damage to subdue their enemies. And we'll talk about those 3 things. Frost skills chill enemies, reducing their movement speed. Chilling enemies will eventually freeze them, causing them to be unable to act. Pyromancy skills focus on dealing fire damage. These skills deal a high amount of damage and cause enemies to burn for additional damage over time. And in shock skills use lightning to defeat enemies. These skills have many ways to reduce cooldowns and benefit especially well when critically striking. Fourth up on the list is the Rogue. The cunning Rogue uses whatever tools are available to get the job done. Rogues are both agile and resourceful, able to fight enemies at range with bows or up close with daggers. They are able to imbue their weapons with various magics. Marksmen kite enemies at a distance using bows and arrows. Marksmen benefit from critically striking enemies and by causing them to become vulnerable. Imbuements, imbue your weapons with poison, cold, or shadow energies. These imbuements give attacks special properties when they damage enemies. And traps. Lay traps in the ground which can trigger various effects. These effects range from damaging targets, poisoning them, slowing them, and much more. And last but not least, the Druid. Flexible and resilient, Druids harness the power of nature to protect life. Druids can shapeshift between the cunning werewolf and the powerful werebear to fight their enemies. Additionally, those who prefer spellcasting can unleash earth and storm magic from a distance. Werewolves are ferocious and agile. They benefit greatly from increasing their attack speed and critically striking enemies. Werebear. The werebear is a powerful force in the battlefield, dealing damage in large areas while also being notoriously difficult to take down. Storm. Call upon the storm to rain lightning upon your enemies or blow them away with powerful gusts of wind. And Earth. Earth magic focuses on limiting enemy movement with crowd control effects. They also benefit when used against enemies who are in such a state. So there you have the 5 different choices you have to choose from to create a new character and to get playing. So think about your playstyle. You know, what do you like? Are you the kind of guy that likes to do massive area of effect damages? Do you like magic? Do you prefer the bow and arrow type gameplay? Are you a tank like a barbarian? You just like to rush into battle with a hammer or a battle axe? Let that kind of help you decide which way you go. Each of these characters has an interesting build to it that, you know, a lot of variety to what you can do with the character, so it's really, really cool. Alright, let's move on to the next. Alright, so after you finish off the initial introductory part of the story, the campaign, you're going to end up in a town called Kyovashad, or more of a city, I guess, by the standards of the times. Kyovashad has a variety of locations inside of it for you to explore and check out, and it also has these nice blue exclamation points, which we'll get to in a second. I highly recommend walking around this town just for a little bit, just to familiarize yourself with it. Check in. You've got vendors where you can buy and sell weapons and armor. You got a blacksmith that can repair your armor or break down pieces of armor that you don't want. Breaking down armor will allow you to use the look of that armor, in some cases, as a transmog system, so you can change what your character actually looks like. You don't have to wear a hodgepodge of the best armor that you found. You can actually give it a unified look, which I do to all my characters. Then here you've got the little, this is your room, this is your little base room. Unfortunately, you share it with millions of other people on the internet, but it's got a wardrobe where you can utilize the transmog system and give yourself different looks. And it's got a stash box where you can stash various items. And the stash box, as you can see, is account-wide. There's no way this level 1 character has all this crap in there. She can't touch any of it. So, yeah, there's that. Same thing with the transmog system. It is account-wide. Once you break something down, you only have to break it down for a single character. So that's fantastic to know. There are some things in the game that are account-wide and others that aren't. It's good to know the difference. Now, around the corner here, and this is something you should always visit before you leave town, especially if you've come in from combat and you don't have a way to naturally heal yourself. You got your healer. Clicking on that will refill your health and your health potions. So even if you come crawling back to town with a sliver of health left and not a single potion, you can go re-up there. Just down the hall from that a little bit, this is your alchemist. Your alchemist will allow you to upgrade your healing potion, and you can see it does that every 10 or 15 levels roughly. You'll want to do this constantly as you hit each level. Basically what it does is it gives you more life instantly, and then the rest of it will heal up over the 3-second span. That 3 seconds I don't believe changes at all, but the amount of life does. At level 90 you're healing 1274. At level 1 you're healing 17. So yeah, it's pretty significant. Now later on you can also craft elixirs, which you can use to gain XP as soon as you have this ability. I think that's level 10 or so. Let's take a look all the way down at the weak ones. Level 15. So as soon as you no, actually level 5. There we go. So as soon as you can craft these and you have the parts for them, craft them. Because they're very important. The extra 5% is priceless overall. Then you can refine resources and craft incense. Incense works like similar to the
blessings
elixirs, but for a shorter amount of time. And crafting resources will allow you to turn one resource into another one. We'll head out a little bit over here, and we've got our curiosity dealer. And I recommend you do this with every big town you get to when you get to it. So the purveyor of curiosities allows you to trade in obols for different types of gear. As you can see, the cost varies, and you can also get whispering keys. So we'll talk more about that later on, as we're going to take a whole video to look at obols and see how to get them and what to do with them. Moving along this way, we're coming up to our stable master. Now, it'll be, I think, at the end of Act 3, roughly, when you get your horse, finally. It takes a long time to get it. We'll talk about that a little bit later on, but when you do get the horse and you want to alter the way it looks, you know, the type of mount you have, the type of armor it wears, and any trophies that you can hang on it, boom, this is the guy to go to. Now, because I've already beat the campaign, I have a horse. But, you know, for all intents and purposes, I'm going to treat this guy like he doesn't. It's just, I don't know why. I guess I know why it does that. But in any case, that's that. Moving on. Alright, so in here we have the gem guy and the ring and amulet guy. We can buy rings. Of course, we can't use either of those right now, but we can buy rings
Another
here.
time, then.
And the gem guy, once we have access to using them, we can use him to unsocket gems from weapons and armor, add sockets to certain pieces of armor and weapons, and upgrade gems. So that's something we'll be looking into as we move along and get to that level. And then over here we have the occultist. Can't access him until way later in the game. I think he's level 25 or so, somewhere around there. And what he does is he allows you to extract aspects from legendary, sacred, and ancestral gear and install them onto rare gear. So that's something that's a lot more advanced, and we'll get to it when we get to it. And last but not least, I want to show you the World Tier statue. This will allow you to freely travel from one tier to the next, but only to veteran when you're first starting off. You have to unlock Nightmare and Torment level, which I have done on my main character, but as you can see, that is not count-wide. So, there's that. Take a quick look at the character itself. You start off with some very basic gear, basic weaponry, and your stats are fairly low. I've got a between 75 and 78 and everything. Now, there's a reason my stats are going to be a lot higher than yours if you're just starting out, and we'll get to that when we talk about Renown in a minute. Shows you your attack power, your armor, your life. If you hit L3, the left stick on the controller, it will give you more information on different things here, like your damage and all your bonuses and so forth and so on. When you're just starting off, all of it's going to be crap pretty much, but that's where you can see stuff like this, like your maximum energy if you're curious, all that fun stuff. And also it will show you here all of your crafting materials. Now, as you can see, we just started off. These are all shared throughout the account, so that's kind of cool too. So it does give your second and later characters a much, much bigger advantage. You can go to Profile. You can edit your profile and you can select a title for your person. You have limited choices in the beginning, but as you can see here, I've got a lot that are unlocked. When we get down to the bottom, you'll see when we get to the end of it here, it'll be dithered out. See? So these are account-wide. So that's just something you got there. And you can, of course, join a clan if you want and create a custom emblem, so forth and so on, which is just purely cosmetic. Now, you do have a storage down here in the bottom underneath your own picture where equipment you pick up will go into here. This includes weapons, armor, and gems. Consumables, which includes various elixirs and Nightmare sigils, which is something we'll get to way, way later. Quest items, this is great because it doesn't come up your regular inventory. If you pick up a book that you need to deliver somewhere, it's not going to end up in your regular inventory. It's going to end up in here. And aspects we spoke about briefly and we'll talk about in depth in a single video. This is where aspects you extract from pieces of legendary equipment will go to when you extract them, so you'll be able to access them later on. How to progress your character. Let's talk about that. Now, you bought this game, you know how you are, you know how your time is. You play the game however you want. That's up to you, man. I don't I'm not here to tell you what to do, but I will tell you my thoughts based off of running one character up to level 70 something and the mistakes I made doing that. And now I've got 2 other characters in the 20s that I'm using for various video series, and I'm trying to do things a little different with them and learning from my mistakes. So I recommend going through the campaign fairly rapidly if you can. Keep advancing it forward, forward, forward. Now, that's not to say ignore everything else, but you unlock certain things in the campaign that are hugely useful and will come in handy later on, and the sooner you get them, the better. Like, for instance, the mount itself, the ability to traverse the ground at such a speed with the horse far outweighs any negatives from going that far and getting it. Now, you don't have to, of course. You can sit and do every little thing, but I recommend doing that. But in the meantime, do not ignore these blue exclamation points. These are side quests, okay? And as you can see, I got 2 active right now. Now, some of these are locked behind story progression and all that. When we come back to this city 10 levels from now, and we've done a couple things, there will probably be a couple others popped up. Make sure you activate those too. Now, do you do the side quests? Well, that's up to you. Some people are completionists and are going to do them right away. What I would recommend is to do them if you come across them during your travels. If you're running around and you're going from point A to point B and you see a destination off, a little bit off the beaten path near there for one of these side quests that you've activated, then why not do it and knock it out? You'll get some XP, you'll get a little box of resources and all that fun stuff. I think you get some gold too. And, it's good for you. And you'll get Renown, which is fantastic and kind of priceless in a way. I mean, Renown is great, and we're going to talk about that. So I do recommend going through the story as you're comfortable with it. If you find yourself getting overwhelmed at some point, maybe you're not quite ready for that next big boss during the, then maybe take a break and do some other stuff to level up or get a better piece of equipment. But try to stick to the story, but do activate every single side quest, because you never know when you're going to come across it in your travels, and you can quickly go ahead and complete it. Now, we mentioned Renown a couple times. This is Renown. Every region in the game has Renown. Okay? And some Renown is locked behind progress from your character. Others is seasonal. Now, I have full Renown on my main character. Okay? Full Renown. So that means the bottom row, everything that's in the brown underneath where everything says locked, I have that for every character that's just starting off. This is a level 1 character that has not done anything, and they already have an extra skill point, 1 extra potion, 2 extra skill points, 80 extra max obols, and 4 paragon points. And that's per region. So that gives me a huge advantage starting off a second character, and it will for you too if you fulfill your Renown. Now, is getting the Renown worth it in the beginning of the game? There are 2 arguments to that. I think it kind of is to some degree. I mean, you can only get up to, I believe it's level 3. Yeah, you can only do level 3 on World Tier 1 and 2, so the skill points. You can't get the obols and the paragon points until you've reached World Tier 3 or above, so you're never going to get all of it. I mean, you can get all the Renown ahead of time, and then as soon as you get to World Tier 3, they'll unlock and you can claim them. That's up to you, but personally, I like the Renown system. I think it's great, and I think if you at least unlock those 2 skill points in each region and the potion, you're going to be happy, because it's a big difference. I think you start off with 4 potions, right? Yeah, we have 5 regions here. I have 9 potions now with this brand new character, right? You can see it down there. Next, right above my red orb. 9 potions. That's a ton. That's really going to get me out of some bad situations in combat. And not going to lie, man, it's a huge help in the beginning of the game. So Renown is important. There's 6 ways to gain it, and you can see them all listed down on the bottom. Every waypoint you discover, like the one we saw in town here, gives you 20. Defeating a stronghold, which is challenging, gives you 100. Every side quest gives you 35, so you see we have potentially 70 in this town from those 2 side quests. Every time you discover a new area, and you're going to do that naturally as you progress through the game, gives you 5. Side dungeons, which are all over the place. As you can see, there's 23 in this region alone, 30 each. And altars of Lilith give you 10 each, and there's 28 of them in this region. Now, what's an altar of Lilith? They're hidden all over the map. And I do recommend getting them, and I do, whether you do it early or whether you wait till you get your mount, it's a little easier when you get your mount to do it. And you can actually, there's plenty of websites out there that you can go to that have interactive maps on it that will show you where every altar of Lilith is. And just take a night and hop on your horse and go get them all. I do recommend it. And here's why. Some of them will give you skill points, and it's only 2 per altar, but that's 2 skill points, right? Some will give you Paragon point. I think there's 5 of them. Yeah, there's 5 of them give you 1 Paragon point each. Some will give you max obols. So there's different things that they give you, but these are all across the board, right? So starting off a new character, like I don't even remember what a basic character starts off with as far as skill points go, because I've got all my renown. So I'm starting, not skill points, but all my strength, intelligence, and all that, because I'm starting off with all my Lilith statues taken care of. Every region has them done. It doesn't show on here because it doesn't show all across the board, but if I find one, I will not gain 2 more points. That's already built into the character. It's already built into the thing. The only reason they're unchecked down there is because they you have to earn renown on every character. And I know it's confusing, right? And you're like, well, wait a minute, if you already have the stuff, well, to get the money, when you get 200, we'll get 3,000 gold. When we get the next level, we'll get 10,000 and all that. Everything else we already have. And it's already unlocked, so, we don't worry about that. And to prove it, we'll go right here to our abilities. You see, I have, right from the start, 10 available points. That's 2 per region. Normally, when you start off, all you have is the very basic attack. So, this character is starting off with, like, a level 10 character as far as how they can distribute their skill points, which is a massive advantage in the beginning, I believe. You don't have great stats, you have better stats than normal. You don't have great armor and weapons and all that, but to have that many skill points right off the bat puts you at a serious advantage. So again, it's up to you what kind of time you have, what you prioritize. I recommend getting those first 3 levels of renown if you can. You're going to want to do side dungeons anyway. They're great sources of loot, money, and experience, and each one will get you a aspect unlocked. And we'll take a look at that real quick. Your Codex of Power. So you can see all these aspects I have unlocked. I've got more to do. I haven't quite done all the dungeons yet, but I'm working on it. And these aspects are things that you can imprint onto rare weapons to make them legendary, and they will give you these different benefits. Some of them are locked to a specific character, like the Necromancer. Some of them, like this one, are good for any character. You can find them with any character, and you only need to find them once. As you can see, all these are unlocked on a brand new character. You can actually show your class only. So here I am, my first rogue. And what do I got? 4, 8, 9, 10, 11, 22, 23. Yeah, I got a ton. Not too many left to unlock for her. So definitely worth doing, in my opinion. Even if you just get altars of Lilith and dungeons to do it, you don't worry about the strongholds till later. Discovering areas, that will come naturally. And like I said, the side missions, those will come as you come across them. But now, when you find equipment out in the wild, gear, we call it, weapons, armor, whatever, what do you do with it in the beginning? So my thought in the beginning, and this is what held me back on my first character a little bit, where I hit a wall, is I would find a piece of gear with a cool thing on it, like +1 to Blizzard or +10 to Intelligence, something I was like, oh, that's great, I need that. I think you got to ignore that kind of stuff and just go with the base stat first and replace it. So, like for this tunic, right? It's 23 armor. If I find one with 24 armor, I'm switching it out. If I find one with 30 armor, I'm going to switch that one out. And I'm going to keep going with it until, you know, until the end of time, basically, because, or at least until I get to a higher level where I can really start making better armor and weapons, when I start getting legendaries and then sacreds and all that. Until then, I'm just going to be trading it out. I may trade a rare for a not so rare, a yellow for a blue. I try not to unless it's a significant difference. If it goes up 50 points, then I might. If it goes up 5, then I won't, But I try to do that, and I find when I do that, like I'm doing with my druid, I'm keeping up as the game progresses and the creatures level up. I'm able to hold my own against it. I didn't do it with my sorcerer in the beginning, and I hit a wall with her after a while, to where I was like, wow, I gotta get rid of all this stuff. And now, I'm so attached to it, it hurts. And there are ways to get through that. There are ways to change aspects on your different weapons and armor, and we're going to talk about that in another video as we advance to that part. But for now, I say you go with the best stat, the most damage per second, and the best armor, and you leave it at that. That's my advice. Now, you might do things differently. And for the first 40, maybe 50 levels, I say don't even sell the extra crap you have, because you don't get much money for it, and money you're going to end up with. Here again, I got 21 million with this character. Of course, that's all made by my level 71 character. And that character has spent tens of millions of dollars fixing things and changing things. So there's money to be made. And you make a lot of it later on selling gear. But in the beginning, I recommend coming here to this guy and scrapping it. Scrap it, scrap it, scrap it. You'll unlock transmogs, but more importantly, you're going to end up getting lots of stuff for making things, You want to upgrade gear, you want to do stuff like that, you're going to need all this cool stuff. So you get a lot of it, not all of it, but you get a lot of it from breaking down weapons and armor. So that's what I recommend doing in the beginning. Once you hit level 40, if you have plenty of that stuff, or you hit level 50, whenever you feel comfortable, then I say start selling, because you'll make a ton of money. You'll be making a lot more money by then. You'll be getting better gear, and it'll go up quickly. In the beginning, you shouldn't be spending too much money anyway. There's really, I don't know, there's not a lot of reason to... The way this game works as an ARPG is you're going to be constantly finding stuff that's better than what you have for a while, right? And I would say probably until you get to level 50/World Tier 3, right around there, you're going to pretty much be getting better things as you go along. So there's no real reason to invest any money or effort and time and resources into a piece of equipment that you may replace 20 minutes later when you go into a new dungeon and you're like, oh wow, I just spent, $5,000 fixing that, and now I got something that's better than it. Screw it, I don't get my $5,000 back. There's no refunds like that. So yeah, my recommendation is to just keep cycling through that stuff and scrapping the crap, and then eventually selling it later on. But those are just some beginning, starting off thoughts for you as you start a new character. That'll probably get you through the first 5-10 levels okay. But really go out there and have some fun. Experiment with some different builds. You can refund your different points, like you'll see here. I think up until level 5 you can refund them for free. So if you choose something you're not happy with, you can just refund it, do it again. No, I don't like that one either. Refund it. Experiment with different builds. You're never going to fill out all of this, okay? There's just not enough skill points. I think you get 58 total in the game, and there's not enough, because each of these has, well, not each of them, but a lot of them have multiple levels to them. You got 5 there, 5 on this level, so forth and so on. When you get up to the ultimate, it's 1, and then down here it's 1, but still, it's a lot, and you're never going to do it all. So have some fun, mix it up. Look ahead a little bit, because you do have the advantage of being able to say, okay, I see what's coming up here. If I take this and combine it with that, that might be good. Then you just got to look for the equipment to back that up, you know what I'm saying? It's a game about min-maxing, it's a game about building a character, it's a game about finding new and interesting ways to deal the most amount of damage as possible while keeping yourself alive. And that can be very, very challenging. I'm finding it challenging with my sorceress, who was an absolute ass-kicking machine on World Tier 3. She got to World Tier 4, and it was a humbling experience right off the bat. So now I'm in that stage of re-gearing her, and once I get her gear up to snuff, I'm going to have to take a good hard look at my stats and my specs, or not my stats, but my skills, to see, well, maybe I need to pull a point from this and move it into that. And, you know, just kind of tweaking things little by little to take the most advantage of that build. So anyway, guys, if you found this useful at all, or you enjoyed it, please leave a like on the video down below. I'm going to do a series of these videos, so if you have any questions for, you know, the casual player, or as a casual player, please leave them in the comments below. It'd be great, and I'll do a video on it for you if I'm, you know, figure out what the answer is, and we can talk about it there. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Ring that bell for notifications. I'll see you guys next time. Until then, peace.